Training Camp Live is back after a walkthrough on Wednesday. Now we head to one-on-one drills, wide receivers versus DBs, linebackers, running backs, tight ends in the equation as well. A whole lot of fun here from Oxnard, California on this edition of Training Camp Live.
Man, that hit that corner, boy.
Welcome into a brand new edition of Training Camp Live presented by American Airlines alongside Patrick Walker. I'm Kyle Yeomans here from Oxnard, California, where another practice is unfolding as we speak, and we've got a good treat for the fans at home. We've got one-on-one drills between the wide receivers and the DBs. This is some of the most exciting action we're going to see in camp all month long.
It absolutely is, especially when you consider, Kyle, the defense has set the tone thus far in training camp, and that started with the pick 6 from Anthony Brown in the first practice of training camp. And as you sit here and watch these guys battle, particularly from a receiver standpoint, the Cowboys are trying to figure out who's going to step up behind CeeDee Lamb in the absence of Gallup in Washington. So these reps are critical for those young receivers to get out there and put something good on film, hopefully.
It's one of the biggest things that you have to look for from a coaching staff standpoint is the ability to win these one-on-one matchups. That was Peyton Hendershot working through – excuse me, that was Ian Bunting going up against Donovan Wilson. But we're going to see a number of different players go up against each other. Wide receivers and tight ends versus DBs, linebackers. I wouldn't even be surprised if they mix it up a little bit and throw some safeties in there too. There's Noah Brown working on Nashawn Wright. But you mentioned the wide receivers. That's been really the dominating storyline through Oxnard, California so far is who's going to emerge. This is where you can do that. Looking downfield to Roberson. What a snag.
And there you go. Those are the types of plays you want to see your wide receivers come up with so that you can start to kind of see how this depth chart is shaping up at the position. And you mentioned, with Ian Bunting making that catch, the tight end position is another one that you need to keep an eye on as well with the current injury to Jake Ferguson, who suffered a hamstring tweak. And then veteran Jeremy Sprinkle, he's dealing with an inflammation in his Achilles. That's going to kick the door open, at least in the short term, for players like Bunting and the rookie undrafted free agent Peyton Hendershot. And, of course, Sean McEwen, who we can, I believe, agree on, has the inside edge right now to be tight end 2 behind Dalton Schultz.
Definitely. So here's Trevon Diggs up against Simi Fehoko. Fehoko with an early step actually beat him to the end zone. Great throw, and it's on the money. Simi Fehoko beating Diggs, and that's a huge factor for Fehoko, who's wanting to win one of those later jobs in the depth chart.
Could not be better said, Kyle. When you look at Fehoko, he's earning it every day in camp now. He's becoming a regular playmaker.
Al Harris getting in the ear of Trevon Diggs, by the way, off to the right. And there you see Harris and Diggs as he's walking away. But
Fehoko, he's continued to make plays. I mean, it's become a regular occurrence that he's able to reel in those difficult catches like he just did against a first-team All-Pro in Trevon Diggs.
Now here's Peyton Hendershot in an arm battle back and forth.
Good hand fighting.
There is a penalty flag down a little bit early. There was some contact afterwards. Marquise Bell was in coverage. Even saw Tony Pollard get a rep in there. We've seen, like I just said, Marquise Bell, safeties going at it.
It's great that you mentioned Pollard because the question is Pollard going to – as Diggs almost gets his revenge against someone else. The question is Pollard going to see more reps as a receiver? Now, be it out of the backfield or motions into the slot. And you heard the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, mention that they're looking to, quote-unquote, expand his route tree beyond that of a running back. And here's the speed.
Look at Turpin.
And there's the speed, but that's fantastic defense. Fantastic defense by Anthony Brown.
That's 2 of the quicker players on the entire roster. If you were putting together a 4x100 team, those might be the first and last legs, if we're being really honest. And the fact that Turpin had the early edge, but Brown was able to catch up, that just shows the speed and the athleticism of Brown just to be able to stick with it. What a throw over the top. Dak Prescott throwing a dime. Excuse me, that wasn't Dak. That was Will Greer that threw that football. Dime over the top of Malik Jefferson to complete that pass. CeeDee and Diggs. This is the marquee matchup.
Money.
Oh, and Diggs just burnt again. CeeDee Lamb easily into the end zone, and Dak putting it on the money.
And Dak doing what Dak does. He's throwing dots out here, and he puts it in a position that only CeeDee Lamb can get to. Trevon Diggs, obviously not a slow guy, but Lamb has the burners. He hits the extra gear once the ball gets in the air. He gets to the spot, beats Diggs there, and magnificent touchdown.
Ooh, what a move at the line of scrimmage here. This is Dennis Houston.
One of my favorites coming out of camp. Oh,
great recovery, but from Quandre Mosley getting back into the thick of things. Houston had a great start on it, and Mosley made a great play deep down the field.
And that's what we're starting to see from a defensive back capacity for the Cowboys. You're starting to see some of these guys like Mosley, another guy, Deron Bland, who's out here been doing great work in camp practices, and they're basically blanketing these receivers. Now, the receivers are getting some wins, as you've seen CeeDee Lamb. You've seen Simi Fehoko get a great catch. But that being said, the defensive backs, that unit is still making some great strides on a day-to-day basis, and that's what you want to see when you're trying to figure out who, in fact, is going to be the definitive complement for Trevon Diggs.
No doubt about it. Jordan Lewis, Anthony Brown have had good reps so far in this. Here's Jordan Lewis again going up against Jalen Tolbert. Tolbert had a great catch earlier in the practice, and he has a great catch there. That's a big win for Jalen Tolbert because he's had kind of an up-and-down practice or at least training camp so far, but he still has a lot of talent and certainly could be one of those names that you look at, T.J. Vasher.
Absolutely punishes Kelvin Joseph on that route, absolutely punishes. But going back to Jalen Tolbert, you know, he's one of the more heralded rookies coming into training camp. He's had some great signs of progress he's making, but to your point, he's also had a mixed bag overall. You're starting to see guys like Simi Fehoko take those steps forward to kind of apply pressure to Tolbert, and then, you know, you got guys like Vasher, Turpin. It looks like he's going to get some more reps.
Little breadbasket catch for Ezekiel Elliott.
Ezekiel Elliott on the out route.
That's up against Christian Sam at linebacker.
And that, to me, that is still an underutilized tool in the toolbox of Ezekiel Elliott as far as how the Cowboys have schemed him since he left Ohio State. Back at Ohio State, he really was kind of a dual-threat running back.
Wow, look at Noah Brown putting work on Nahshon Wright. Wright had one of the better reps of this drill early on, and then Noah Brown puts a foot in the ground and cuts upfield.
Noah Brown's been having a fantastic camp, quiet as it's kept. He's been very consistent. I've not charted a single drop from Noah Brown. Here's a big play. On the money.
Back here with team drills, and now you see a dump off to Tony Pollard to get us underway. And we just saw a lot of the one-on-ones. Now you get a chance to kind of put it all together, but based off of what you saw early, who are you keeping an eye on in team drills today?
Right now I'm keeping an eye on a guy like Kevontae Turpin. I am very interested to see if the Cowboys will continue to find ways to integrate him into the offense. I think his flexibility is not only a return ace, but possibly being a receiving threat that can possibly help the Cowboys not have to run heavy in the wide receiver unit as they're trying to make these cut downs towards the end of the month.
Heading into second team reps here, but even some of the first teamers remaining on defense. You've got DeMarcus Lawrence out there, Jordan Lewis, Quentin Bohanna on the interior, Micah Parsons at the second level, and then Trevon Diggs to the far side. That's second team offensive line. Most of the rest of the offense is still with the first team. Terrence Steele got off to a quick start. No flag, though. Good jump at the snap.
Good read and reaction there by the defensive line to limit that to a very minimal gain, if any gain at all. And that's going to be critical, Kyle, for the Cowboys to get, you know, especially their interior defensive line glued together. A ton of young guys there, but being able to stop the run, which is not something they were totally horrible at. They were top 10 in touchdowns allowed on the ground last year, but they were bottom of the barrel as far as yardage allowed.
Cooper Rush changing the call at the line of scrimmage and a quick toss back. That's Malik Davis, the undrafted free agent out of Florida, with the carry.
And Malik Davis is going to see some more reps as we have this conversation.
Sure.
With Rico Dowdle going on the COVID-19 list. He'll be quarantined for at least 5 days.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity for a guy like Malik Davis to step up and show that he is a viable option for the Cowboys, even if it's only eventually, you know, as a special team guy, and then kind of work himself in. But he's going to need to take advantage of these reps.
He was the starter at Florida, but really it was a dual backfield for the Gators last season. Now a little bootleg action as Cooper Rush rolls out to his right, finds Noah Brown on the sideline, and they're going to call that incomplete. Didn't get both feet down, but still a little bit of a look there from Cooper Rush, moving out of the way and getting into some mobility.
And there's that Noah Brown guy There he is again. And I've said it a moment ago, and I'll say it again. Noah Brown has had a very consistent training camp for the Cowboys, and one of the more consistent of any of the wide receivers not named CeeDee Lamb.
See what we can get here from a defensive standpoint. Terrell Basham off the edge. Sam Williams was on the other side. Coming and plugging the gap actually was Israel Mukwamu up the middle, coming from the safety spot. Mike McCarthy said in his earlier press conference that it was going to be a run-heavy practice. He wanted to get that physicality that you saw on Tuesday. They had a walkthrough yesterday, so a little bit of the fresh legs, but then they get the pads on today, and they want to see that hitting. They want to have that ability to lean on the run game at a couple of occasions.
Absolutely, and things got a little bit chippy in the first padded practice this week, but that's the kind of physicality that Mike McCarthy and particularly Dan Quinn, that's what they're looking for.
Hand off to Zeke, straight up the middle. Had a pretty good hole, but again, this linebacking core that, of course, hasn't even added Anthony Barr just yet because he'll be a part of that coming up pretty soon. But this is a really exciting look at some of the linebackers, Leighton Vander Esch, Micah Parsons, even some of the second-team guys making an impact in training camp.
Absolutely, and we're really keen in on, although absent from practice today because he's dealing with a little bit of a knee injury that's unrelated to his torn ACL, is Jabril Cox, who should return on Saturday.
Dak out to CeeDee. Got to block it up on the edge. Great job by the defense of forcing CeeDee out wide. Anthony Brown was over there. Jordan Lewis as well. They moved as CeeDee moved, and there was really no lane for him to go.
And you're seeing, again, on display there, the speed of a guy like Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis, obviously, to not only read and react, but also to close in and keep that from, becoming a north-south play and just keeping it east-west.
This will be our last play here on Training Camp Live before we close things out. We'll stick with the first teamers here. Micah Parsons out there on the back. Jaron Curse on the field. So is Malik Hooker back at the free safety. Three safety look, actually, as Gifford's in at linebacker, but then you've got Donovan Wilson also at safety. Tony Pollard wrapped up by Osa Odigizua in the backfield, and that's how we're going to wrap things up. And very heavy on run. I'm hearing some whistles. I just want to make sure that there's nothing crazy happening. There's nothing crazy happening, as you can see. Alex Lilly doing a great job behind the camera, but we saw some one-on-ones, see a heavy emphasis on the run game in terms of team drills so far. What are your overall thoughts?
I like that the Cowboys are focusing on stopping the run right now. Obviously, like I mentioned a moment ago, while they were top 10 in rushing yards allowed defensively last season, they were bottom of the league as far as yardage allowed. So the bend don't break philosophy really didn't pay off for them against teams like the San Francisco 49ers on NFL wildcard weekend. So the fact that they're focusing in on that today tells me that Mike McCarthy, Dan Quinn, they're really looking to step up in that capacity. And if they can do that, this can be a defense that can be that much more dangerous, especially when you add Anthony Barr to the equation.
Lots of excitement around the Anthony Barr signing, lots of excitement around this defense as we continue on of Training Camp 2022 presented by American Airlines. For Patrick Walker, for Alex Lilly, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long here from Oxnard, California. We'll see you next time on Training Camp Live.